Yeah, record. Am I recording on? Okay, well, I'm recording. Anyway, okay. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
The getting started screen. Okay. So this is traininggrants.ucsd.edu. This is open to the public. I'll pop it in the chat. Um, like I said, it is a UCSD website, so it's going to be geared towards us. So I know, like, if you're at another campus, it's not going to be exactly the same processes, on especially on the post award side, it can be very different. Um, but as far as like getting started on a training grant, usually I would recommend that, if your PI wants to submit, like 2 weeks ahead, before the deadline, tell them there's no way and it's going to happen. You really need to start planning like right about now. And I'll tell you from experience that organization is like a key to the whole training grant process. Being as organized as possible. And so I always recommend having like an initial meeting. If you have a PI that says, okay, I want to submit to the parent T32 and uh, uh, the parent T32 and here's the RFA or whatever. And this way you get together your fund manager, the person that's going to be doing your budget, the person that's going to be doing the tables. I usually try to get some sort of leadership in that department in on the initial meeting, just so they understand, like, okay, this admin is going to really need a lot of time dedicated to doing tables. So don't overload them with other things. Um, Bio sketches are pretty much a big, huge game changer in the whole realm of things that um, we don't know where what's going to be happening with that. They say you have to use Science EV for on or after May 25th, but there's a lot of issues with that. So I don't know if the NIH is going to back off on that or not, but they said the guidance isn't really going to be coming out till March 25th. So it's going to be kind of a tight timeline in there for doing biosketches. Um, if you don't already know that, that when you submit a training grant, usually you're going to have at least, I don't know, I'd say on average 32 faculty, but I've seen some grants, training grants have up to 150 faculty. Some have little as 12. But basically from those, say 32 faculty or 150 faculty, you're going to need a personalized bio sketch on training for each and every faculty member. So it is a huge administrative burden for the administrator, the admin to collect all those. Um, so that's why I said like having this initial meeting is like really imperative to know, okay, who's doing what? And I like to use the word divide and conquer. Dividing who's in charge of what, who's in charge of this. So I do have like some sample documents here, and I again, these are just things that I've put together, and I don't know if can you still see my screen? You see the, okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I put, basically this is your kickoff meeting. Here's your RFA. When are things due? Who's going to be your review analyst? Where are all the tasks? And then start assigning tasks to people. Um, so choosing the participating faculty members is probably like the biggest first thing you can do. And that would be like probably the number one action item you can give to your PI. Say, hey, I need to know who's on the grant because if I don't know who's going to be on this grant, I don't know who to ask information from. So the tables specifically ask for information for on trainees and PIs. So you really have to start, that's where your starting game would be. You have to know, like, okay, is this a postdoc program? Is this a pre-doc program? Or is it both? Understanding those basic things. Um, and one of the things that I also like to mention, where is it? Maybe is overlapping faculty. And so this is right in here. So it's at UCSD we have a lot of training grants. So there tends to be a lot of overlapping faculty between there on, one faculty member could be on 6 or 7 different training grants. And if there's too much overlapping faculty on the grant that you're proposing, the NIH can come back and say, well, why are we going to issue you another grant if you have another program very similar, right? So that's one of those strategic things when the PI is coming up with a mentoring list. You kind of, you need to see that, and then if the PI gives you that information, you can check. I have this overlapping faculty list on our website, again, just for UCSD, but uh, I was going to open it for, oh, it opens in the other thing. Anyway, so this way you could see we have like 2000, I mean, we have about 67 programs, but we have about some mentors are mentioned 2 and 3 and 6 times on one program. So this way you could go in and check and say, okay, if I'm going to put Susan Ackerman on my grant. Oh, she's on like 5 other grants. And we already have, let's just use this as an example. We already have a genetics program and we're proposing for a new genetics program. If there's going to be too much overlap with a bunch of faculty, that's kind of a little bit of a red flag, and it's kind of a hard stop in my opinion. So that is something that you need to make your PI aware of when they're choosing their faculty. Um, and then what else was I going to talk about? Timeline for submission. It kind of depends. New grants, I think, require a lot more time. I've done a brand new submission. I started April 15th and I was able to submit by, May 25th, but I worked a lot of weekends for that grant and we did get funded, but, I'm also experienced. So for a brand new grant, I would say because you have to decide, you have to figure out what trainees would actually be on the grant. So it requires a little bit more discernment. So renewals, I think, are a tad bit easier because you can look at the historical, renewal. And, sometimes, yes, you're changing faculty, but it's not like drastic changes since you already have a program in place. Um, and you already have trainees that hope, if it's going on at least 15 years. So one thing that I do have, which I find helpful, let's go to the other screen again, is again, I think organization is a huge key to piece of the pie here, is having a spreadsheet that basically, if you're going to list all your faculty here, let me give you a better example. Cancel. I already have one open from one that I'm working on. So here's one, and they gave me, here's their participating faculty. And I have this checklist, and basically let's, we don't need, you guys don't care about names. It's nothing proprietary here, but you can see with this spreadsheet, okay, these are all the things I'm going to need from each and every PI. I'm going to need, I always try to put the admin assistant here. When's the date that I sent out the email? You can see they haven't gotten any responses yet, and they sent something out, 2 weeks ago. Okay, I'm gonna need a bio sketch. I need mentoring information for table 2. I need their research interests for table 2, and I need their table 4 research support. And then, of course, if they had any trainees on the training grant, I need to know publications and possibly trainee outcomes. So if a trainee has left and you can't figure out where they are, then you could turn around and ask the PI. So, and then of course, if you're using extract, which I recommend, making sure all this information gets into extract. So having a list like this, I feel is really helpful because sometimes they'll respond to you and say, oh, here's my bio sketch. and then they ignore the rest of the email. And then so, okay, that's great. I got my bio sketch, but I still need all these other things I need to follow up on. Or you may have, the bio sketch, the mentor records, but you don't have the research interest. So this way you can stay very organized because if you've used extract, I mean, you can keep running a preview PDF and see, okay, what am I missing in the tables? But this way, I think it keeps you a little bit more organized. Um, so this is just basically that. That's an empty table. Um, and then I have something like this would be listing all of your pre-docs that are on your grant or postdocs, and then all the information that you need for tables 5 and 8. So this again to me is very helpful. Um, uh, for keeping yourself organized. So again, these are open to anybody. I even have like the sample email if you want to, uh, say your PI gives you that list of faculty members and you want to send out, an introductory, okay, we're submitting a training grant, we're either submitting a new grant or renewal. We'd like you to be a part of the grant. Some people will just respond and say, nope, I don't want to be a part of it. Okay, or I'm retiring. And these are all the things that you're going to need. Now I know some people have done like Google surveys or what's the other one? There's a lot of survey software you can use and send it out to gather this information. I've realized in my, I don't know, my time and being in this position, you have to like hand feed your faculty members some information and try to keep it as distinct and short as possible. Nobody wants to read emails. Nobody reads emails. I mean, I feel like because everyone's just so busy. So I just try to keep it as succinct as possible, not asking too much of them. The bio sketch, there are usually, especially in the Parent T32, there's specific language that they want in that personal statement. And so I put some examples here. And then this is like a whole new kind of a ball game because this is supposed to be through Science CV. So I need to update this. Um, Mentoring records, really the only person that knows mentoring records is the PI. Unfortunately, we don't have a database at UCSD that compiles this data. We have something called a biobib, which is something that a PI has to submit in order to get a tenured or a faculty review. They usually have to list all their mentees in that. So sometimes they will just send me that and I will have to calculate it myself. Um, and then research support. So what I usually do with research support, like when I go back to that hand feeding, I will go in my internal processes in Oracle, our financial system, and I'll pull all of the research grants for, like, say, Janine Jones, and I put them in the table for, in this email and say, okay, is this correct? I found this in our system, and if anybody knows UCSD systems, you always have to validate whether it's actually true or not. So I will, say, are these still correct? That way they don't have to give you that information. You're just saying, can you validate this information? Because I kind of, that's like other support. But other support is usually the 5-year funding total, and we need annual direct costs. So if you have access to your financial systems and you can get this information yourself, I would recommend doing that and then just having the PI confirm. The one nice thing about extract is once you add in your faculty member, all the NIH awards show up automatically. So you don't even need to ask them about NIH awards. So that's kind of helpful. It's going to be mostly your non-federal grants or gifts or anything that's used for research support. But like I said, this initial email, this one is just a sample. You can take it as you like, and change it up. Completely up to you. But kind of gets you started somewhere. One thing, what I like to do, and I'm doing this with a new group that is submitting for the May 7th AIDS deadline, is we are meeting like weekly or bi-weekly, depending on, everybody's schedules. That way we're kind of keeping each other accountable, and you can have someone run the meeting and say, okay, where are we at with data tables? What are we stuck on? What do we need help with? Okay, the program plan, if you've got the PIs on the call, they can say, yeah, I need help with this section. What do I write? And then that way you're kind of collaborating together. One thing that I also have is a checklist. Mm. And it kind of just goes through the entire process of like, these are all of the elements you need to submit the grant. Um, you need what we call a quality record. That is a proposal record. I'll have a lot of admin and go, I don't know how to get to quality. So how do I do that? Usually, it's the fund manager that does that, and then you have to submit it through the assist package and assist in NH ERA Commons. So getting this kind of, like I said, divide and conquer. If you have quite, five people involved with the grant, just saying, okay, who's going to take care of this? Who's going to do this? Who's going to, and that way it's, you're being very specific, and then you can hold everybody accountable the next meeting. Hey, how's that letter of support coming from the Salk Institute? And the PI is going to go, oh, I forgot I had that, something like that. But, making sure that, again, it's just pretty, I like to make a lot of notes in here. And then, another thing that you have to think about is what are you going to use Google Docs to save all your information? We use SharePoint at UCSD, which is kind of nice. Then you can, type in information there, and people are, they could type in their notes as well, and you can kind of cross use it. Google Docs, I mean, everybody has their preferences of Dropbox, Google Docs, whatever. But just whatever you use, make sure everyone has access to it, obviously. I mean, that seems like an obvious thing, but I worked on a grant, I don't know, like 2 years ago now, and like majority of us have problems with Dropbox, except the PI. He was great for him, but the rest of us, I mean, it literally sucked. So, coming to some sort of conclusion on that. Um, so I have other stuff on here like common weaknesses. These aren't necessarily things that you may get involved with, but might be something that your PI needs to look at and this web page and say, okay, maybe we don't have a good recruitment plan. This is something we need to work on. So these aren't necessarily things that will affect you directly in your position, but it's something that, overall can help the submission. So. It's 12:28. I'm going to pause for a second and see if I have questions before moving on. Okay, Kelly, is Science CB required for NIH? NIH is requiring changes to formats for all biosketches on all proposals submitted on or after 5/25. On or after this date, all NIH biosketches, yes, must be required to use Science CV. All NIH requires all key personnel to submit biosketches using, yeah. So they have to use I don't know exactly what your question is, Kelly. Yes, for the training grants, all your faculty mentors are going to need to use Science CV. And
Well,
it's,
today was the first day that I had actually seen that word, science
mm,
CV. And so you kept saying it to me, and what sounded to me like was really fast. So it's like,
oh,
okay,
sorry. Yeah.
that's okay. I wanted to put it out there just in case anybody else
Yeah,
missed.
so
Uh,
Science CB was actually created a long time ago.
oh,
Um, and basically, I think NSF and NIH are trying to do, like, it's basically just a biosketch form, but it's supposed to be kind of automated and then formats everything. You have to put everything in there. But the pain in the butt part of it is how do you get your PI to log in here to do it, right? They would much rather do it in their Microsoft Word.
right.
And
And that's
actually,
what
I
they were.
think I would prefer them to use Microsoft Word at this point because you're going to have to use, at least when someone sends me their Microsoft Word, I can check for formatting and I can check that personal statement and make sure, did they address, quantitative design or whatever it is? Um, Instead of we're gonna have to go back to them and say, okay, be sure to, change the language on this and then, let's uh, resend it to me. So it's going to be a lot of back and forth. And I know NIH is like, oh, let's reduce the burden, but here they just, to me, they up the burden. Um, that's just my opinion. But actually, I did a presentation on Science EV quite a long time ago, and I'd actually like to see if it's relevant anymore because I don't think it's changed at all. They're just now making it mandatory. But I was in that training grant community of practice meeting an hour ago, and someone kind of alluded to they might be backing off on this. So I uh I would like that if they did, but I don't know.
And
Um
they mentioned that we might know by March 4th. Was that, wasn't there
I heard
a
March
March
25th, but I didn't hear March
25th?
4th.
Okay, okay. I probably got my dates wrong. So hopefully it'll be in enough time to prevent people from doing too much work on this other platform. Um,
Yeah.
how often do you recommend pestering the PIs? Because I was told by one PI, you have to send at least 4 requests for every
Hmm.
piece of information you want from them. Four
You're an engineer.
reminders.
You're in engineering, right? So can I
Yes.
blame that on engineering? Us people in health sciences are much more efficient. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Um, yeah. Uh, yeah, sometimes it's one or two. That's why I like to just keep those emails, as quick and to the point. That way, you get a better response. Trust me. I see Evil. Am I saying that right? Evelina.
Evelina, yeah, hi, Jill.
Evelina, I haven't used Smartsheet. But the only thing I mention on these forms, if you send them, is to get them to fill out the form. I find it easier if they can just hit respond and say, yes, that's my correct research support. Or if you maybe just submitted a grant and have some prior, mentoring records and say, hey, can you confirm this? And then they can quickly write back and say, no, I actually have 6 grad students in my lab right now, not 5. Again, whatever's going to work for you, I just don't, and it's much more efficient, right? If you could just have people go to a Google Doc and fill in all their information, and then it builds the table out for you. Trust me, I'm all about efficiency. I just don't, it hasn't worked for me yet. And maybe I'm not taking the right approach, but if it works for you, I would love to know,
Yeah,
um,
I'm trying to get the smart sheet because I just got the license and I have to do renewal for one grant and an RPPR for another. And I'm not a savvy grant person by any means. So I'm looking for shortcuts. I'm looking for ways. And I found out that smart sheet, some people are using it at UCSF. That's where I
mhm,
work. And
mhm,
apparently Smartsheet is super robust and you do need a license. I should preface it with that. But once you get the license, essentially you send them a form and then they populate information like a Qualtrics survey if people use
mhm,
Qualtrics surveys. So it's similar idea, but it's imagine Qualtrics and Excel together. So the Qualtrics, so this it's kind of comes into the faculty as a they click it and it's a form that populate opens up and then they enter information in and then it comes to me in a format where I can create reports out of it and dump it
mhm,
into like an Excel. So I want to push for them to do it. And I have a really huge grant next year I have to renew. So I'm trying to like learn that stuff for a smaller
mhm,
grant we're renewing. It's like a 5-year grant versus a 45-year grant for
mhm.
next year. So I want to get really good at tools because this is the most daunting process that I hear. And of course, you know this, Jill, but I've only
Yeah.
been doing this for a very short time and I'm sick of it already. And I'm just like, I hate it. Everybody I talk to hates it. I'm going to
Yep.
be really honest and say we need tools, we need shortcuts, we need efficiency. And yes, you're right. They take 5 times to follow up, and I don't mind doing it, but when I get the information in an email or a Word doc, then I'm sitting there extracting that crap into a
Yeah,
spreadsheet.
I just wish you the best because I really would love to hear you
Yeah.
when
So
you know what I mean. I
I'll,
really want to see your outcomes because I just
yeah,
like I said, it hasn't. I've tried different ways of okay,
yeah.
let's just people don't want to click and stuff. I
They
mean,
don't want to
that's
click. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
do they have to sign up for the smart sheet?
No, no, it's
Oh,
literally
that's good.
they don't have to have an account,
Yeah.
but it's I just have to become a good user of it. It's I just got a license recently and I'm now hunting down people that know how to use it. So now that's my process. I'm trying to figure out who's a smart
Yeah, I
user.
haven't I can
Yeah. So that's what it is. But I know you and I we've talked in the back end about this thing.
yeah,
So
oh yeah. But like I said, I get the best ideas from you people. You guys are the smart ones here, and I just well take your idea and like recycle it. So, or take credit that I actually came up with it, but because, anyway, yeah, so I get some great ideas. I got some great ideas from somebody else just the other day, and so I know it seems kind of archaic that I use like spreadsheets and checklists, but it works. So, I'm sure there's a better way to do it. Um, Christine, so you have a question. Has anyone received a NOAA for renewals or new training grants that were submitted recently? We did have our grants from the 525 deadline that were reviewed. We did not get them, so there was no NOAA. I'm trying to think. So like Corinne, you got notification that yours was not funded, and then
Mhm.
so we're putting in a new grant. But
Yeah.
I don't think we've received actually, now that you bring that up, we haven't received any notifications of new grants that were so um yeah, kind of
Yeah,
goes
that's
in.
what we're looking at. We have a couple of T grants that were submitted. They got fundable scores. One of them went in January and we're still waiting to hear on that one. But the one we submitted last fall, it's got a fundable score. They even said it was approved by a
Council.
consortium where they put in a pay line, but now the NOA is quote stuck.
Yeah, I think things, because we're in like this influx right now, I think
Yeah,
things are I'm very I tend to be a very positive person in that sense. Like I think this whole thing is going to work out. And all these different changes, things are getting thrown at us as pretty quickly, all these different changes at NIH. I honestly think they're going to look and see, okay, there's a lot of good things going on here, especially with the training programs. And they might back off on stuff and we'll kind of get back to normal business. Now, I don't, like I said, I don't, nobody knows, right? Nobody knows
right.
when study sections are going to be um, resuming, and a lot of people are just hearing rumors right now, and this is what's happening. Kelly, we submitted 523, received impact score 1223. Okay, yeah, that
It took them
was,
a year to get
yeah,
us the NOA. I couldn't believe
that's
it.
pretty unusual for, I think, didn't you guys submit early though?
No.
No, okay. Yeah, that's kind of unusual. What was yours? NIBIB or something?
Right. Yeah. I,
Yeah,
I couldn't believe
every
it.
institute's a little bit different. Um,
Everybody kept saying we would, but especially after we got a perfect impact score in
yeah,
December, 6 months later, we kept thinking any day now we're going to receive the NOA, and it still took them another 6 months.
yeah. Um,
Wow.
I think Christine, if I'm understanding you correctly, you were kind of making that the question in the current climate. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct, because we have a T32 and a T35 that have been submitted for renewal. They got really good impact scores. We're just
Just wait.
waiting. We're
Yeah.
just waiting. And then I have another T32 that just let me know this morning that he was going to try to submit for May for his renewal, and it's like, no,
Oh, yeah.
you're going in September because he doesn't
Yeah.
even know who he wants on the grant.
Yeah, we're finding that, and then this started a while ago, when the UAW, the new salary scales came out, and there was this big gap between what the institution pays and then what, or I should say, what the institution pays and what the NIH pays. There's a big gap, funding gap there. And so we've had a lot of PIs that are just like, you know what, there's too many hassles with training grants. I'm letting it go. So I have at least two or three of them right now that I know they just say, we're not going to bother. It's not worth our time. So,
Can I
yeah.
That's where
share?
this one may go.
Can I
I'm sorry.
share?
Sure.
Something that seemed to be helpful for our renewal was when Dr. McCulloch asked for information from the faculty, he would say, you know, provide a sentence or two about blah, 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 such as, and he wrote one for himself. And faculty really seemed to respond well to examples like that, and he used that information for some of the narrative
Oh, for
parts.
the personal statements?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I do that too. I usually write just a couple different examples so they're not like
Yep.
all cutter. And then I'll just,
Because some people, will write a half a page when just a couple of sentences are needed. So that's
yeah,
helpful whenever, like you said, whenever you can provide them the information up front, so they can say yes or no or give a
yeah.
quick response, that they always
Yeah,
find it
especially with those
helpful.
personal statements, they've gotten really like strict on, okay, all these
Yep.
little things, that they want in there. So it
Yep.
was interesting that you said that though, Kelly, because I can't remember which grant I was working on. And I got the pink sheet on it. And then we put that in every single personal statement, and it was slightly different. And then somebody actually had one of the viewers had the audacity to say it was like cookie cutter. I'm like, but you're asking for it to be in there. Do you know what I mean? We tried to tailor it as much as possible. Now you're criticizing us for it being in there.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you can't win with every reviewer. But I'm like, hey, it's a mandatory. We put it in there. We're putting it in there, and you can't, word quantitative design in how many different words. You know what I mean? If they want those
Yep.
specific, wording. So, um, you can't please everybody. But yeah, that's definitely the personal statement. I would, copy and paste that kind of stuff. Definitely, 100%, especially if they're going to have to put it in their mind, because I believe you have for Science CB, you have to go in through my CBI, which you can't give delegations to your admin. It's a different process and than an ERA Commons delegation. So it's going to cause all sorts of issues. But um, I was actually going to check and see on the Science CV. I know I have, like I said, I have some old training on that, and it'd be interesting to see if it's the same. But um, yeah, it's one of those things. I was like, oh, you put in all the information, and it's supposed to be more automated and quicker. And then is it really? Because just to go through, get someone a delegation, you're going to have to jump through hoops. And so let's just hope that, I'm just hoping they back off on that, at least for this deadline. I think we have enough going on. So it's 12:45. So next week I was going to start like on table one. Or does anybody have any specific questions today that I can help you with? Hmm. No? Okay, how about I share my screen again then, and I'll go back to my website. Um, So kind of, I was here under proposal development and then getting started. You can see funding opportunities, activity codes, just basic information. And then here is next is data tables. So these have, all the updates that just came out in January last month. And then, you have to look and figure out, okay, what type of program do I have? What tables do I need to fill out? Do I have to use extract? Some of you are going, what's that? Extract is you can put all the data that you are going to collect for these data tables into ERA Commons and it spits out the table for you. I put it that I made that sound really easy, but it's a bit time consuming. However, it does format everything for you, and there are some benefits as like it pulls in all your data from NIH Reporter, so you don't have to put in the NIH grants. Um, I personally like to use it. You have to use it for your RPPRs, so you could just copy over your data from your table 8 from the RPPR. Um, so that's I kind of went over this a little bit, collecting and leveraging data. Again, it's all about being organized, having your spreadsheet with your list of faculty and when you contacted them and what information you need. And like I said, I do tend to enable my faculty a little bit and, hand feed them information, but that's just because I want an answer and I don't want to have to email them 4 times. Um, so here's some of that information. Also, I have on here like, do not ask admins for this information, and this is really specific to UCSD. So one thing that I do collect on our campus is an institutional data. Is our overlapping faculty, which I showed you before. And I don't know if the other campuses do this. So I have a list of all of our training grants and then all the faculty on each of those training grants. So I don't know if that is something it's like a hand this will help you fill out table 3, but I don't know if other campuses do that. Um, but anyway, I was gonna start on table 1 next week, but this is kind of like a preview of what I'm going to be talking about. I can't pronounce your name correctly, Evelina?
Evelina. Evelina.
Evelina.
So it's Evelyn with the A at the end.
Got it. Yeah, that's
Um,
helpful.
so I see that this is such a beautiful page you are sharing, but it looks like it's only for US, in San Diego. So is that a good tool for me to perhaps to use too? Because it essentially is the same information, right?
Most of it's going to be the same, especially on the pre-award side.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly the same, I would say. Um, yeah, and there might be something like, okay, it's gonna say ask ARC, and you're gonna go, what the hell's ARC?
Right.
Academic Resource Center. Yeah, so yeah, I won't, so there'll be some things that are, foreign.
Yes.
But yeah, I think looking at the tables, I mean, I basically just take the tables and then,
Mhm.
you know, um, this is where I get the information. A lot of it is not within our UCSD systems because
Right.
we don't have great reporting
Yeah.
in that sense. And I say that like for table 8, if you're trying to find out where a trainee is now, they left 10 years ago,
Hmm.
I just go out to LinkedIn. I
Yeah.
just stalk them on Google, and
Mhm.
that seems to work pretty well. I get a quicker
Yeah.
answer doing that than
Yeah.
asking the PI.
That's
So,
what we do. Yeah. I
you
don't
know,
have the link to that URL. Would you mind dropping it or you can email it later in the chat? Because I don't think I've ever seen that. And I was like, oh, what is that? That's like a really cool sort of a hub for all the information there. So I appreciate that.
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And I
And I
have
also have another question. Kind of so we have for one of our rheumatology grants, which is only a 5-year grant. It's good news is that that doesn't have a lot of historical data, but we have an RPPR for that same grant that's due, I want to say like early April, and then May it's the renewal. So I'm like, well, do we do the RPPR first and then some of that information will carry over to the renewal, or how would you do that if they're so close in time?
so usually you would just do the progress report in in the renewal. And but it really depends. If you go in ERA Commons, is it lit up like that you have to there is one due on 5/1 or 4/1?
I may not know how to look at it. This may be a side thing, but I can go over with you. I don't know. My PI has already initiated or activated both of them, but I don't know how to see which one I need to put the information in. Is it the RPPR or the renewal?
Okay, so there are a couple things here. So in ERA Commons, there's the RPPR module and then there's an extract module.
Mm-hmm.
So you have in the RPPR, if it's illuminated, and maybe I can pull one up as an example, it will say initiate RPPR. So they could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And then an extract it'll say initiate, prepare RPPR, um, yeah, prepare RPPR or prepare renewal, prepare RTD for renewal.
That's right.
So there's kind of like two things you have to, two steps there.
Mhm.
So I'm not quite, I would have to like, you'd have to really look in the commons to see,
Okay.
if they've actually initiated the RPPR.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's just, you're gonna have to do a progress report anyway. I mean, so
Mhm.
if you do have to submit one for one, you could basically take all the same progress report
Mm.
summaries and put
Okay.
them in there, except you have to, uh, tweak things a little bit. But let me see if I can pull one up for you.
Jill, I'm gonna pipe in and say, when we did our renewal application, we did not do the RPPR and we got our hands slapped because we were supposed to submit the interim RPPR, just like a closeout on a regular R
Um,
grant. You still have to submit the interim report regardless. And then we did just use almost identical text from the RPPR in the renewal application.
Yeah,
okay. Thank you.
the interims are slightly different too. I mean, it's in the sense, I'm just trying to pull up a.
But we did try to argue with them, and they said, no, do it. So we did
Sure,
it.
Angel, they like you better than they like me. Didn't we have this discussion the other day that they like
Yes.
you? Yeah, and they don't like me, but
Yep.
whatever. So just so you can see here, like this is the RPPR
Yep.
module within
Mhm.
ERA Commons. You can see here, like some of these have not been started, but they're not due till like, May. But
Oh.
you can see, so this is interesting. This one's due 3/1 and it's not started yet. I think that's Gloria. I'm not calling you out or anything, Gloria. Um, anyway, but then you can see a lot of these are, PD work in progress. So if I did click on this one, you should be able, so I don't have access, I don't have delegation, but there would be like the little ellipsis here and it would say initiate,
Mm.
you know, the RPPR module, which I don't have access to. Um,
Oh,
so
I never saw it that way. Okay, I go through a different way, but I'm assuming the PI has done that through the RPPR module specifically.
yeah, I would yeah, because some people they might get confused. Now the extract,
Yeah, I go through there. That's what I've
yeah.
gone through.
So let's see. Um, for doing the extract portion, the table, these are the tables.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see here,
Mm-hmm.
prepare for revision. Okay, this
Yeah.
wasn't a good example. You know, so you can see here, they've already finalized their RPPR and we did a renewal last year. Actually, let
Mm.
me see, Jose, he's probably got more options there. But then you can kind of see like, okay, has a couple different training grants here and continue for the RPPR, putting information, prepare for renewal.
Yeah.
So, so I'm, and since Gloria's on and she knows me, I'm just going to hit in here, prepare for renewal. And so see how this
Mm-hmm.
comes up and
Yeah.
it says, oh, do you want to copy everything over from your last RPPR?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And
You
then
always
that
want to do that, right?
gives you like a big head start on your table 8. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I like to recommend that.
Okay.
Um, so
But if you mess up on that and have to go back, can you ever sort of initiate a different way? Or once you do that, you're kind of stuck?
what do you mean? You could, I mean, I'm not sure what you mean. Like, do you mean
So
if I,
you know how you just clicked on those little three little dots and then you clicked it there was like an option to continue with or without. So what if you did it without, but then want to go and sort of bring in the data from a previous one, whatever that. If you like do that one more time, I think maybe you'll pop up that screen, that popped up. You know how it asked you to choose one or the
oh,
other.
all right, let me, back to search results. Okay, so like here, prepare for renewal.
Yeah, exactly. So what if you say yes, proceed, or you've said no, proceed, but then you realize, oh, I should have said
You want
yes,
it.
proceed,
So
and copy.
I believe there's a way um to go once you've done that, and I'll show
Oh.
you. Um, Continue for RPPR on this one. See
Mhm.
how it says down here, copy trainee information?
Oh, got it, got
So
it.
you can actually go in there,
Nice.
but a warning on that. I did this one time, and it literally copies over everything that you've done.
Ah.
So, I mean, as far as table eight. So, say if you already put some information in there, but I wanted, some information from these trainees, you can't
Mm.
handpick.
It's like
This
an
is
override. It's an
it's going
override.
to override everything. So, make
Mm.
sure, that's what you want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, but yeah, there is a chance you can do it later on.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, 12:56. Anybody have any questions? Did I not answer any questions? I don't know. Hmm. Anybody going to happy hour today? No. Oh, Mida, like, hey, where are you at, Mida? Let's meet up. Oh wait, she says Stanford. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'm going
She's
to,
with me, Jill.
I'm sorry.
She's with me. I'm hoping to have hand off the
Oh,
T32 to
so
Mida.
are you in La Jolla then?
She
She's
is in law. She's with LJI. I'm hoping that
uh, oh no.
she'll take
Oh,
over the T32.
I'm sorry you have to work with Angel. That's a real bummer.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks.
Yeah, Angel knows I love her. I've been trying to get her to come out to UCSD, but she's too smart for us. Yeah, she's too smart for us. So it's true.
And T32 is a bad word. This is what
It
I train
really kind of
everybody on.
is. Yeah. If you know how
Yeah.
to piss off a PI, go, hey, how's the T32 going? They're gonna look at you and cry.
Oh, yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah. So um yes, I kind of just leave it at that. We should get together for happy hour though, Angel. Do you go to the office at all?
Yeah, for like 2 hours at a time, once a week, maybe.
Oh, okay.
But I think you're near me. Are you in Rancho Bernardo still?
No, I'm in Vista now. I got
Oh,
married.
girl, far
Yeah.
away. You far
Are you
away.
in
I mean,
Jordan?
pardon me?
Are you in RB?
No, no, I'm in Tierra Santa.
Oh, okay. That was a little bit closer to, yeah. Now I'm out in the boonies.
Yeah. Are you when you go into the office, let me know. I'll make the trip to La Jolla.
Well, I have some friends at Salk that when I get together for happy hour, and then you would love them. They,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yes.
think it'd be a great collaboration, to get more of these, I should maybe organize it.
No, because it actually is really good to have a network to ask questions, bounce things off of. You know, it's such a small little niche here on the Mesa for T32 people. So
Totally.
it would be beneficial. Do it, Jill. Do it, please.
Wow, if it involves wine, yeah, and there's
Me
motivation.
too. Exactly. Exactly. Yes,
Well,
please.
actually, it's funny. When I went there, I think we met like, Salk has that outdoor, patio restaurant thing.
Bella Vista. Bella Vista.
So I like went in and bought a bottle of wine. There's five ladies around the table. And then somebody just pulls out like this bottle of bourbon and let's do shots. I'm like,
I
I
love
can't,
it.
I know exactly. I go, you're my people.
Yes. Not
So
shy. Yes, let's do
yeah.
that, Jill. Count me
Yeah,
in.
let's get us. Hey, are you anybody going to the Ancura conference next month here in San Diego? So am I. I'm presenting.
Oh, I haven't even looked at the schedule yet. So
I'm presenting on training grants, which is shocking.
great.
Uh, Pre-award and post-award. I think I'm both on like one day. It's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna
I'll
be a
check
long day.
it out. I'll check it out.
So, okay. Okay, guys. Well, have a good rest of your week. Let me know if you
Thanks so
need.
much, Jill. I did have one last question for you.
Sure.
I wanted to ask. you wanted to kind of do the case or sort of like a test of my grant, and how do you want to do that?
I was saying, I mean, we can specifically, like for table one, I need to know like the departments that you're using. So we could do it that way. You can send me the name of your departments and we can just do like a live demo on that. Like here, like for example, let me show you. So like here, like I don't know what your departments are,
Oh, we
but
don't even have pre-docs. Yeah, yeah.
no.
Rheumatology.
Pre-docs this is a pre-doc. You're either doing pre-docs or post-docs, but you still
Yeah,
have to
postdocs. Yeah.
departments.
Oh, okay.
Departments and programs. So it would be good to know, like, if, you know, if you knew ahead of time, say, okay, which programs and departments are going to be involved, then that way we can do the live demo and we can find out the information for you as
Okay.
best we can.
I'm a little lost as to what that looks like. Sorry, I'm really
Okay.
not good at these T32s. I'm like kind of sinking and swimming all at the same time with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. And
like,
this
oh, goes over
fire
my
like
head.
I'm trying to break this up into like week by week. Okay. And then we're just
Yeah.
gonna for each figuring out all the different types of data you need for all these tables. So,
Yeah, and I so yeah, I don't even know. So the thing is I'm trying to. I don't know how effective this is going to be, but I'm involved in an RPPR for one of our endocrinology T32s, and then simultaneously a rheumatology T32 renewal, which also has an RPPR. So I'm at least,
and when is your renewal due in May?
I think it's May. The renewal is in May, and the RPPRs are like April sometime.
April
So
and probably April and March and April or April and
maybe
May.
no, not March. I know for sure it's not March. It's like
Okay.
April, but definitely April and May. Those are the two dates. So I'm supposed to like help my PI do all this stuff, but I'm like really struggling to figure it out, and that's why I'm trying to figure out tools to use. But I don't
Mhm.
even really understand what all the tables really mean, like table one or like it doesn't, it's very, very foreign to me. So I'm like, it's gonna look really funny for me
And
to
that
try
and
to
that but
say
this is
things.
like the person that I'm trying to target. So for the interesting thing about like the tables for a renewal or new grant, you're usually gonna have to do tables 1 through 8.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Unless it's a new grant, you don't have to do table 7. For
Yeah.
our PPR, you just have to do table 8.
Oh,
So
okay. That's right. That's right.
just reporting on the trainee outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the good thing about that is you should be able to pull up in E-rate Commons extract and be able to copy over last year's data. And then you're
Yeah.
just going to refresh the data as far as like, and most of it's going to be like LinkedIn information. Where is that person working now? Do they have
Mm-hmm.
any new grants? Um,
Yeah.
and then if you have new people that are appointed on the grant, okay, they're in training, So
Mm-hmm.
it's table eight's pretty, it's not so bad when it's for an RPPR, in my opinion. So, but that's your starting point. So one other thing while I have you, under award management, I have under RPPRs, I have a whole checklist on what you need to do, a quick guide, organizational checklist, the template, the budget template, which you guys could use. But like the quick guide basically just shows you the differences. If you've done like an RO1 RPPR, a research grant RPPR, these are all the nuances that are different. So these are all this what makes the T32 distinct. And then I have a checklist, which I like to do. And you kind of go through it with your PI, and then you like, here's the PI's duties, divide and conquer. This is what I'm in charge of doing, and this is what you're in charge of doing. And then you can basically use this when you go into that RPPR module in ERA Commons, and you can, fill out the information that you need. But there's going to be certain things that only the PI can
Mm-hmm.
answer. and it
Yeah.
should be on them. And then,
Yeah,
but
I'm
there are,
not doing any of the writing portions. I'm just pretty much gathering. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, like what's
yeah.
the best way to gather the information, and
So
we're storing it
that's
in box.
this this page would be good for you because it helps you gather the information you need for section B4, which are the trainee summaries. So
Is that the
um
progress report? Is that the same as progress report?
the RPPR is a progress report.
Oh, okay. Because we've requested the progress report for our current trainees, and it's like that's the name of the form. So it has all these sections that they fill out. So I guess that's the same as a summary, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's in, yeah, pretty much. And they're just gonna, this
Like
is
a Word doc.
a couple paragraphs on
Mm-hmm.
where they're
Mm-hmm.
at with their
Mm-hmm.
science and, and then if they've published, you're gonna put those in products and they went to a conference and, whatever. So,
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'll just hop back on next week again, definitely on the board, this office hours. Hopefully I'll be further along. But I may have missed the first part. Was there any updates as to from the NIH, or you're saying the March 24th is the first update we're waiting to hear about?
that's for biosketches. I don't know
Oh,
if they're going to continue doing the old method or they're going to continue with the Science CV.
oh, I
It's
see. That's what.
just kind of waiting to hear. I have a grant that's due May 7th. It's an AIDS deadline, so we don't have to do this Science CV. But I have another grant. Yes, we're going to have to use Science CV as of right now. But otherwise, no, we haven't heard
Yeah.
officially.
And I don't even know what a science CV is. I've always heard biosketch in our world.
Yeah,
So,
so Science CV is basically within the NIH website. You put in all your information and Science CV spits out a biosketch for you.
oh, got it, got it.
And
Okay.
automated. So it's going to bring in all your NIH information, stuff like that. And then it connects to ORCID, so you can connect publications and whatnot. So
There's a
yeah, it's
tool, really a
basically just like
tool.
another tool,
Mhm.
I don't whether it's helpful or not, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. A lot
You're
to do in
welcome.
the next couple months, and
I know. But
appreciate.
you'll catch on and you'll be fine. You'll do
Yeah,
great.
it'll take time. This is the
And
first renewal
and
I'm
email
doing.
me, shoot
Yeah.
me an email if you have any
And
questions.
my colleague also, Svetlana, who's messaging with you.
Oh
So her
yeah.
and I are tackling, she's in the GI world at UCSF, and I'm in rheumatology and endocrinology tackling for the T32. So yeah, we'll be picking your brains for sure.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I'm here for.
Thanks,
So,
Jill. Thank you so
okay.
much. Okay, have a good one.
You
Bye,
too.
everybody.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.